Hello, all. We are here tonight with Doc fucking Coyle of Bad Wolves, and God forbid, was recently touring guitarist with Ice Nine Kills. And I say recently, I mean that was probably 8 months ago or so.
September was
Okay.
when I finished, but it's weird. It feels like yesterday, like it just happened, but the whole end of last year was kind of a blur. And I've also been kind of like doing events with those guys, and even after that, and I was just at a Grammy party. We were hanging out, so and I had a couple guys on my podcast. We're in close proximity, and I always see him or I was hanging out. So it's like you're kind of, once you're in that family, you're kind of just down for the cause.
Down for the cause. That's a good thing, right? Especially when you can play music with people that are friends and slash like family. Having
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I had no idea what to expect. I mean, I was, buddies with Spencer beforehand and Ricky, but not like super close, but you develop those relationships, especially when you're kind of in the gauntlet. We did 6 months together, but intense, pretty much no time off. You're together every day, you're working, you're all kind of trying to build the house together and make it all work. And that has a way of really tying you together when you have a bunch of people really focused on one high-end goal. And especially, them doing a stadium tour with Metallica, that's going to allow you to focus in a way that I think very few events in your life will.
Yeah, how did that feel like being on that Metallica stage?
I mean, it's definitely a culmination, because especially considering some of the venues I got to play, which was MetLife Stadium, which is formerly Giant Stadium in New Jersey. That's a big thing for me, which I never thought I would play anything like that, especially with my favorite band and on that level, and playing SoFi Stadium out here. Yeah, you just feel very lucky because especially those shows, there's not that many of them. They're only doing two shows a week over, in I think five cities or something like that, five or six cities, maybe eight, something like that when you extend it to the whole year. And so those shows are like, they feel like these very particular events. It's not like they're doing 100 shows in a year. It's really impactful and just very grateful.
Hell yeah. Well, they've come a long way from doing, 200 plus shows a year to, now they can pick and choose internationally. Like, okay, we're going to do 15 events and that's it. Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny. I talked to Rob, and he's like, I think he wishes they would play more, but I think there's, because it's when you're on tour, you get into a flow, right? So you'll like, I feel like it takes 2 weeks just to get into like a nice flow on the road. So it's like tough to kind of like, we'll do one show and then another, and that's it. And you're kind of like, there's a less rhythm to it, but I think they figured out the kind of lane that works for them.
Yeah. Well, it definitely works for them and good for them for, taking metal to that level. Cause I mean, right, being in this arena, you never look at, like you said, I never thought I'd play these places, and I'll bet back in the 80s they didn't either.
Well, I mean, they've been doing the stadium. I think the first stadium tour they did was um, well, I guess they toured with Ozzy, but I think that was arenas. But
Yeah,
then they did the tour, the co-headliner with Guns N' Roses. That might have been the first like full stadium tour. But they were doing pretty much doing stuff like that, on and off since then. So they're in a class all on their own, I think, when it comes to this genre. And I think it's them, Rammstein does stadiums, Iron Maiden in Europe does stadiums, and kind of like in South America, AC/DC, Foo Fighters, a handful of bands, and those kind of go more into like the hard rock realm. But yeah, it's a tremendous vantage point.
for sure. So let's touch on Bad Wolves. I know you guys have a few shows coming up. I think three are announced right now. Is there any plans to tour around those events?
Yes, and that tour will be announced next week. And I can't mention it right now. It's a really, really cool tour. I'm so excited. We've known about it for, a couple months at this point, or a month or so. And we're gonna announce that, and then we're planning something for the summer as well. And and then I think we're getting an offer for something in fall. So it's all the whole thing is kind of falling together because we didn't really have a lot lined up before the new year, but we're like, we need to get out. And it's just been kind of like you're kind of hammering away to get the things to work because it's you want to open up for big bands, but you want to headline as well and kind of find a nice balance between that getting exposure, but also kind of holding it down for your fan base. And yeah, this is a really important year for the band because we just put a record out and I still feel like people haven't really heard it, totally. And so I want to go out and share it with them and show off these tunes and also it's also an experiment. You go and you play the songs live and you kind of go, what are they connecting to? What are they vibing with and what's working, what's not working? And that's all part of the process is like you develop a relationship with the songs while you're performing them live and sharing them with the fans.
Yeah, and I bet it's nice to be out there, right? Interacting with the fans and seeing those reactions, right? The
Well, it's
kids.
way easier to be like excited about things when you have that immediate feedback, right? Like right now we're home. We've been home since mid-December, and the industry kind of shuts down at the end of the year, and then even the beginning of January, kind of a slow kind of getting back into things. And I was burnt out, exhausted, didn't want to do anything, and you kind of like slowly get back into the flow of things, but you have to be a self-starter right at home. You gotta to get people excited. It's like it's all social media and content and posting and this and that is not always the most inspiring thing to kind of be sitting in front of a computer or sitting in front of your phone trying to how do I get people excited about this song? How do I. Whereas you're on tour, it's very intuitive. It's very you know how that works. It's very simple. The arrangement. It's like you go out there and you give 100% and hopefully people connect with that and it's blood and sweat and tears and it's very visceral and it's to me it's the most elemental important part of what we do. I think it's what separates the rock and metal culture from just about every uh type of music. The way we connect in the live environment is very particular to the culture and essential, right? And we learned that during the pandemic when shows went away, how like if we don't have that, what really do we have?
Yeah, everyone tried the live streaming, right? We're gonna do this, and it's
What made us better? Listen, it made us a smarter, more self-sufficient, adaptive, I think, industry. And it taught everyone, oh, I can do this, I can work on this. There's all these things I can do without being on tour that have now are indispensable. And so I think it actually, in the long term, will have advantaged bands, but it's funny. I can think about how many bands that, broke up because of the pandemic or members quit or whatever. It screwed up their momentum and some bands it helped and a lot of bands it hurt. And it just, I think society at large, right?
yeah,
Uh, will be feeling the impacts of that event just in the same way like our grandparents felt World War II or the Great Depression or, anything like that.
yeah. I mean, the long-term effects of, the isolation, I think we're gonna see really come out for years to come, right? There,
Yeah.
without that sense of community and that interaction. I was I'm gonna say one of the lucky few where my job didn't stop, right? It it kept going. I was out in the public and I still had the opportunity to connect and I missed live shows. God, I missed live shows, but I can't tell you how many I watched on YouTube to go, man, I remember that. I was there. That was so good. Um, but it's one of the I think you're right though. It's one of those things that we were faced with a challenge as a whole, and people adapted and overcame, and other people were like, you know what, maybe this isn't the right thing for me, and moved on to whatever that is.
Sure.
Um, so the new album, when did you all start writing it, and how?
Um, Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, and how long from like the start beginning of the writing process to um, release did that take, and what was that anticipation like for you?
So we kind of started our first sessions after. So we did our tour with Papa Roach and not Falling Reverse, Hollywood and Dead. I think that was in like February into March of 2022. And pretty much, so by the time that record, we started touring on Dear Monsters, it came out, I want to say October or whatever, November of 2021. But we had been working on that record since the beginning of the pandemic for like a year plus. So by the time it came out, it was kind of old to us,
Hmm.
and we were kind of doing the math on terms of like when the next like what we'd have to do for the next record to come out and yada yada yada. So we were kind of ready to like get into something new. We were just tired of that phase of the band. And so we had finished up the tour with Papa Roach and went right back, and we just said, all right, let's get going. And we started writing songs for the record. It's that like uh early spring, kind of the end of um winter in 2022. And so we would do that between every tour. We'd like tour and then go right, tour and go right. And so we did, and pretty much by the time we did a very long European tour with Volbeat into the end of the year of 2022, and then we had collected enough material. John was like, "All right, we're gonna book this time with our producers, and we're just gonna like lay everything down and see what we have." So pretty much January into February, we did that. Um, and then had a good like sense of what the record was gonna be. And I was like doing guitar solos and finishing that up at home. And then the label always tells like, oh, can they're like, you don't have it, write some more songs. And then we'll go back and write some more songs. So there's a song called Say It Again on the record that came from those sessions. And by that point, I was out playing with Ice Nine Kills. So the other guys were kind of working on stuff. And originally the record was gonna come out this year. And they kind of bumped it up, which I was kind of disappointed about because I feel like we needed more time to promote and and it's almost like the last record cycle didn't really end and this one kind of started. It was it was very interesting how it all played out. And because I was out again with another band, it was like I felt kind of distant from the process of how everything was getting set up. But yeah, we pretty much the main sessions were done in like January, February, but then we kind of were finishing things up, because DL has his own studio and is a producer, so he'll like finish vocals at his place, or I'll do guitar solos on my own, and you're kind of like patch things together and figure things out distantly, to kind of get everything together. But yeah, it kind of came together. Yeah, the pretty much the springtime this year we kind of finished everything up, and then I think Bad Friend came out over the summer, like July, something like that. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, DL sounds really good. Uh,
Thank you.
I was listening to Deer Monsters earlier and was like, well, I picked up my daughter from school and I was like, hey, what do you think? She's like, I like this. I'm like, all right, cool.
We do very well with the young people, thankfully. The like it's like, but not like, young. So like if you're 18 and 25, you don't care about Bad Wolves. But if you're like 8 years old to like 12, you're like,
No, she's 17.
oh, seven, oh, good, good. See, there we go. We're making a rebound
We're,
with the youngsters. All right.
yeah,
Tell her to tell all her friends.
for sure. Like her and her little circle, I always get them to come out to shows with me. I'm like, hey, there's a show tonight. You want to go? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, cool, hop in, let's go.
Awesome.
It's fun. So I know God forbid played a couple of shows the end of last year.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. It was right around Halloween. We did Headbangers Boat with Lamb of God and Mastodon and Testament and Guar and all those bands, Hatebreed, Shadows Fall. And then we did three warm-up shows, a couple with Lacuna Coil and one with Hatebreed. So 6 shows all together over the course of a week. Lot of work, a lot of fun. I was sick, so that wasn't the easiest. And I
Ah,
really went right from that right into the Bad Wolves tour with Bush. So it was a nice like 2 month stretch of insanity. But yeah, the God forbid stuff was awesome, man. Those love those guys.
feels good to play that again.
Yeah, it's very like it's very natural. I think hold on, sorry, my phone's buzzing. I'm trying to put it away so it doesn't make noise. It's like Bad Wolves is not like my band. Like I didn't start the band. I didn't um I'm not the primary songwriter. I'm not like the cultivator of what the essence of it is. And God forbid, we it was very collective, like, like five guys in a room, old school, and it's very much of my DNA. But I'm a very different person now than I was then. But it's like that thing that you put that old kind of hat on and it all kind of comes back and it flows out and it just feels very natural. And there's a power to that material. Um, that's kind of represented when we get in a room and you're like you don't really understand the power of what it is till y'all get together and go, oh, this is there's something here. And now we have Nick Hippa, formerly of Azalea Dying,
Yeah.
playing with us, and he's just a force in and of himself. And so that having his energy there and his talent is playing really makes everything coalesce. So it's really special, and that's the thing. And I kind of like doing it here and there and make keeping it special and not having this thing where it becomes a
The
job or becomes,
the the machine again.
yeah.
Yeah. I think uh you know, I've got a lot of thanks to you guys, to God forbid, because I went to see you guys here in Louisville and it was coming off, well, I think you and Battlecross were coming off of Trespass America and you guys played a show here and I went to see you guys and Battlecross played and I was like, holy shit, those guys are good, you
Yeah,
know.
they're great guys, man. They were awesome band. I know they're not active anymore, but they were killer, man. Really talented, really a lot of energy, and they were doing something that people were really vibing on. Really
That's
hardworking guys, really hardworking.
for sure. Yeah. They actually after that show they became buddies of mine because they're like I grew up right outside of Detroit and they're from right where I grew up.
Yeah,
So it's like, oh, funny.
that's
Uh
awesome.
yeah. Tony's got a new band called Finality that sounds really good. And he's not playing guitar, he's on vocals.
No shit. All right.
Yeah.
Mixing
So
it up.
yeah, it sounds really good. Check them out.
Well,
Hell yeah. So I know you said you can't announce you can't really talk about the tour because it's not getting announced until next week.
yeah.
This won't come out until next week.
Okay. What day?
Uh, Probably next Friday.
What deal with date? Because we announced on the 27th,
It's the first.
the first. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna be going out with P.O.D.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a full US tour, hitting all the spots. It's exciting. I thought Blind Channel was maybe gonna be the opening band, but I didn't get the confirmation on that. So don't quote me on that. But yeah, we're going out with direct support for POD, and that's really exciting because I think they're a band that like obviously blew up during the whole new metal era and became an iconic band for that. But then, you're cool, you're not cool, the ups and downs of the industry. And I think they're having a real resurgence and people are like they're giving them their due, they're giving them their respect. And it'd be cool to be a part of that and kind of be, the modern extension of, what a band like that is. And just, it's gonna be a real honor. So I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be
Hell
fun.
yeah. That'll be a really cool tour. And I think new metal as a whole is having a really big, resurgence right now.
Yeah.
See Head PE obviously out there doing a lot. POD. It's just like, I mean,
And
you're,
a lot of new bands are kind of still doing that sound and resurrecting it and keeping it alive. So it's kind of just even bands that are like, like a band like Bad Omens, people are like, oh, it's this metalcore. And I listen to the riffs. I'm like, these are new metal riffs.
yeah,
These are, it's just part of the language of heavy music now. And so it's all kind of everything mishmashes together. I think the labels become less relevant to some degree.
yeah. Well, I think labels right now are, everything's almost like a crossover, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you have to, that's the only way things are going to be interesting, is you have to blend elements and try different things and experiment and that's one thing I really liked about the new metal era was how experimental it was in bringing, oh, we're going to bring, it was all about genre smashing and taking things from here over here and that bothered a lot of purists. But you can't have innovation by just repeating the same things or borrowing from the same pool of influences because you're going to run out of steam. And it's just like, oh, we're just going to do Black Sabbath again. We're just going to do Slayer again. We're just going to do, okay, because your purity, it becomes, it's always going to be the bringing the thing from over here that makes something new, or else you're just going to do the same old shit.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Slayer. What do you think about that? Right? Them like coming out and playing Riot Fest and Louder Than
It's
Life.
interesting. It's like it's surprising and not surprising at the same time. It's surprising the fact that with all the announcements of the Kerry King band and that coming out, you'd think that was be more proof that Slayer's done.
Hmm.
Um, so the kind of coincidence of those things happening kind of simultaneously is very weird to me. But it's not surprising in that I always just feel like bands are never really broken up. Like it's just a matter of time. Probably the only outside of like Led Zeppelin, you know, or Pink Floyd. Those are the two that I think they're actually done. But other than that, I think most bands this is like until the next time. So
Yeah.
anytime they tell you it's their last tour, they're probably lying.
Well,
Or if Slayer, apparently it is the last tour, that they'll still do like random things here or there. So
yeah, and that was everyone's like, "Oh my God, they retired." It's like, well, in all fairness, they did say we're retiring from touring,
yeah.
right? So the plan was to do this little one-offs, which, you know, I, I'm a diehard Slayer guy, so I love it. Of course I'm gonna be
Yeah.
there.
I don't like I just feel like in the age of the internet, people find shit to be angry about and I don't even think they're really angry. It's like
Being contrarian.
it's like gossip. It's just
Mhm.
something to talk about, right? It's just like
Yeah.
here, what's the outrage of the day? And I'm all and I kind of feel the same thing with the Pantera reunion where I'm just like, more music is better than less music. What is the downside? You know, and I don't, it's just like, well, it's not this, it's not okay, but you don't have to go. The
Right.
people that go will have fun, and you don't have to go see it. It doesn't, there's no downside in my opinion for these things, unless the band went out and it was bad. If they didn't sound good and they were botching the songs and kind of hurting the legacy in that regard, but I've seen the videos. That's not the case. They're crushing it. So I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm sure Slayer will, it's the same guy, so it's going to be killer. Those guys are all, top tier, so it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, they're all super professional, and like seeing the Pantera, tribute or whatever you want to call it, right, was phenomenal. I caught it twice and was just like both first time, honestly, I got too drunk during the first band. S- So I remember the last couple of songs and I was
They
like,
must have
"Oh,
sounded really good then.
yeah, I was like, "Woo." Uh but then I caught him at Louder Than Life and to stand there, and I was there with my buddy and his kid, and there was a group of people standing right in front of us, and we're like they're up there smoking pot, and we're singing along, and they turn around, the guy turns around and just looks at me, and we both like yell and sing at each other, and just give each other a big hug, like, fuck yeah, this is what it's all about,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I there's these classic bands, right? These pillars of the community that have there's only a handful of them, right? That are of this magnitude that matter this much. And we're all on a timeline, right? Like it's not gonna last forever, and you just have to appreciate it while it's here. And that's kind of the beauty, I think, of live shows in general, is that every single one is different, right? Every time you see a band in one year, it's a different experience. It's just they can be playing the same songs, but it's not going to sound the same. It's not going to look the same. You won't be the same. The environment, and so those things, these I remember Metallica during the pandemic was releasing concerts for free. I think it was like once a week or something they put out, and it'd be like 1983, 1992, 2010, like, and you're getting every time you're like, it's the same band, but it's always its own thing. Uh, and that kind of uniqueness and just organic vibe. It's like we're going to experience something. And yeah, you got the videos, you got all that, but it's like you're only gonna be there. You kind of try and be in the moment, and it's always special. So I'm just happy these guys are around. You hope they're around as long as they can be, but eventually they won't be, and then the world keeps moving, and we kind of move on to the next thing. And all you have is the memory, you know.
Yeah, and everyone goes, "Man, I wish I would have seen them," or "I remember," or whatever, right? Like Lemmy,
Absolutely,
Lemmy was that guy for me. Always a big Motorhead fan, and I only saw them once.
me too.
Man, what an experience.
Yeah, we played a festival with them. God forbid did back in 2005. We played with them, and then I actually the first show I played with Lamb of God opening for Metallica, Lemmy was there and he did a few songs with Metallica, and it was actually on the Lemmy documentary. So the end of the documentary, it's Lemmy playing with Metallica. That's the show I played. That was my
Oh,
first show.
hell yeah. That's a hell of a memory, you know?
Yeah, dude, that was just blind luck that that happened to be the show I was there for, you know.
Yeah, but shit. Great again, a great memory. That's when I knew when I Motorhead going to see them, that's when I knew my wife was gonna be my wife. And honestly, it was so early in our relationship. We'd probably been together 4 months and Mayhem was coming up 2012. And I was like, yeah, I'd like to go that. It was in Chicago. I'm like, it would be cool. She's for my birthday, she's like, hey, this is what I got you. So we, got to go see it was Anthrax, Whitechapel, Slayer, Motorhead, Slipknot, As I Lay Dying, just a stacked bill. And I'm like, okay, she's the one. It's pretty great. So in all your years of touring, what are some of your like, your favorite memories where you're aside from the, Metallica, where you're like, holy shit, this is where I feel like I always wanted to be.
I mean, the big one was Ozfest 2004, just that first couple of days, I remember just where I was at the soundboard with me and Mark Morton from Lamb of God, and we're just like shaking our heads, like watching Black Sabbath. Like, how the hell, the first time we played together was in a garage in 1998, in front of, one person who came to the show, you know, so like just, feeling like, and on that tour it was Slayer, Judas Priest, Slipknot, Dimmu Borgir, Hatebreed, all the bands in our scene, Every Time I Die and Darkest Hour and Atreyu and all the bands we came up with. And so it was very that whole summer it was like kind of a dream, just getting to kind of we were in the big leagues finally and seemingly held our own, and felt like we belonged. And that was kind of a really landmark moment. This I mean, I've been doing it so long, I think just the idea of, and even with Bad Wolves, like years and years later, being able to do like these like amphitheater tours and, go out with bands like, we did a tour with Megadeth, in Europe and Five Finger Death Punch, and you're like, I've been doing this for 25 years, and then there's still new opportunities and new things that you didn't really think were possible. And and me, I always take time to smell the roses and go, man, this is cool. I'm gonna go watch Megadeth every day I'm on this tour. I'm gonna do that because I wouldn't be here without these bands. And so to be like at that level and kind of just you're, just never it never gets old for me at least.
Fuck, I don't think it ever get old for me either. I one of one of my favorite things about seeing going to the Pantera thing was seeing Phil side stage watching the opening band and not just watching, like jamming out and singing, and it's like, hell yeah, dude. You hit a level and you're still coming out to really support those openers. And
Not for nothing. I think all the openers on those tours are housecore bands. So
well, fair enough, but the he still enjoys them,
yeah,
right? So
I
that's
hope so. He signed him.
yeah, no shit. Um, I I'd like to see King Parrot open for Pantera over here, but I think they're just doing some Australian stuff.
Gotcha.
Like, damn, love those dudes. They're good. They're always a good time.
Oh, yeah, I know they were on some show that I was at a festival for sure.
Yeah, they
Might have
actually.
been. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say they tour over here a lot, and you may have did. Well, the one I caught him at was Super Joint and Devil Driver.
That's where I saw him. Yep.
Yeah, it was a great tour.
Yeah, I remember. I remember it well.
Yeah. So what bands have you seen that aren't like real big and popular that you were just like, holy shit, those guys are really good. I'd really like to see some more people listen to them.
Um, you mean like just throughout the years or just recently or?
I, throughout the years, but mainly recently, because I would like to see some more active. I mean, I do this because I like to keep the hope alive for all the bands out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because sometimes when you get on these really big tours, right? Like they don't really include a lot of like super upcoming bands. It's like almost like you have to be big enough to even be like considered. So you tend to a lot of the times um get like disconnected a little bit from like what's going on in the scene. There's a band and they're actually doing really well. And for some reason I'm drawing a blank. Band from Pennsylvania, getting their damn name. But I saw them on the side stage. Um, I'll have to like look it up and send it to you. They're like actually like doing tours and they're like on big tours and they're getting like airplay. And I saw them on the side stage and it was like it was a tour. It was Five Finger Death Punch, Breaking Benjamin, Nothing More, and Bad Wolves. And they would someone on some of the dates they would have like a local band stage, or whatever, outside. So I was like walking or I was like working out or something. And I like went, let me check out this out. I was like, man, this band is pretty damn good. And I like met the guys in the band and and I got the singer's number. And then like I talked to like our lawyer. I was like, man, this band, I think this band's pretty good. He's like, what do you want to do? You want to help him out? You want to do something? Like, I don't know. Let's talk about it. And I know it kind of like fell by the wayside. And then eventually, like, I started to see stuff happening. They're on this, they're on that. I'm like, it was just kind of, can't remember the band's name. I feel terrible. But it's cool in situations like that to know that you have like a decent ear and a decent eye for talent, that it actually things start kind of developing for them down the line. So that was good to see. Let's see if I can remember
It's
this
like
band.
I'm gonna look it up.
You know, I feel to remember the singer's name. It's like something. I don't know. I can't
Well,
remember.
so you look for that. I just ran into a band out of Belgium called Fire Down Below that, man, I heard the first song I heard was California and it blew my mind. So I was like, oh, I listened to that probably 4 or 5 times and then listened to the whole album, which is desert, low desert surf country or something.
Hmm.
Oh my God, the whole album is great. It's like this stoner, psych, surf mashup. It's just sounds freaking awesome. Uh so did am I right in thinking that you guys, Bad Wolves went on tour with For the Fallen Dreams?
The band did. This was when I was out with
Ice Nine,
Bills and Mark Okobu was filling in for me. So I was not a part of that tour, but those guys, they're great. Literally I was just the singer was messaging me and we're like,
Chad.
yeah, because our old guitar player Chris used to be in the band, so we have like kind of connections with those guys and they're doing pretty cool. They're doing well. So it's awesome to have those connections. But apparently they crushed it on the tour. I'm upset I missed it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I've seen For the Fallen Dreams twice, but Chad's got another band that I really, really like. Legend.
Oh yeah. But well, DL, that's he does with DL.
Oh, I
He-
didn't even like, I
yeah,
didn't,
well,
okay,
DL, that was the first thing he actually like sang on, like did like melodic vocals on was the band Legend.
okay.
Yeah.
There we go. So I didn't even like put two and two together. Uh, and I found Legend probably 14 or 15 years ago at a festival in Michigan, and they came out and had badass art on their shirts, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then, you know, hear the music, and I was like, "Oh, yeah." Like good shit. So they're getting ready. They're coming through they're coming through Louisville, I think in about a month. I'm really excited for that show.
Killer.
What what uh what shows coming up that you're like, "Oh, I really want to go and see that."
I'm actually going to two shows this week. Beartooth is playing tonight with the Plot in You, Invent, Animate, and Sleep Theory, and then Machine Head, Fear Factory, and Orbit Culture are playing on Saturday. So I'm gonna be busy this week.
Yeah, that'll be a killer show too. Like I feel like Fear Factory is always killer live.
Yeah, the new lineup is great too. I saw them not that long ago and they sounded incredible. And yeah, they're the beginning of the year there hasn't been that many shows. So I haven't been going out that much, but I'm like getting back into the deep end this week. So
Right on. So you're in LA, right?
I live in Long Beach, so LA County, but like from the city of Los Angeles, I'm about 40 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, you don't do it in miles. It's in how long it takes us to get there.
Well, if traffic, it could take me, depending on where I'm going, it could take me an hour and a half, 2
Yeah,
hours. But we'll see. Fingers crossed.
not too bad.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite venue to go see a show or play a show there in the area?
Um, I mean, the House of Blues in Anaheim is great. It's probably the best sounding room in the area. The Will Turn Rush I'm going tonight is also, probably the two best sounding shows I've ever heard right at that venue, Gojira and Meshuggah at different shows.
Wow.
Um, There's a lot of great venues out here. I love the Roxy. Uh, they don't have that many like metal shows there, but whenever they do, it's a really good time. The Palladium is a great one. Unfortunately, there was one out in Orange County called 5 Point Amphitheater that apparently they're closing down, which was disappointing. It was a really cool like it was like this makeshift venue that they kind of built to be temporary, and then they actually really built it out and made it really cool. And now I guess they're not doing it, which is like big bummer, which because they've had a lot of the bigger shows which come through there. Corn, we played Bad Wolves played there a few times. We played Papa Roach, we played there with Five Finger. Um, so there, but it's this area. It's a major. Obviously, it's the second biggest market in the country, so there's always going to be good venues and good shows. So, and I think wherever Machine Head's playing in a couple days is a new venue. I don't know if it's like sometimes they'll like take an old venue and then like rename it or redesign it. So I don't know if that's the case, but I don't as far as I know, I haven't been there, so I'm looking forward to checking that out.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I've only been to I did the Palladium last May with Mr. Bungle, Melvins, and Spotlights, which was of course, like I'm sure a crazy, crazy show.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah,
And
I
then
was away, and that's why I missed all those Mr. Bungle shows. But I love that last album they put out, the Killer Bunny. What is it?
yeah,
Something.
I don't even know, but that logo, right? The bunny is it's fucking awesome. Everyone's like, that's what I want. Like, okay, okay. And I'm a big Spotlights fan. Ben, I love those, the whole band. For first time I saw them was with Refused and Deftones
Nice.
2016, I think, and they were the opener, and to see them like just come out and they crushed, and there wasn't a whole shitload of people there. So we're, right up in front, but dude, they blew it out. So
Right.
awesome. Um, what else? Oh, saw um shit. I forgot I forget the name of the fucking venue. Oh, no, I didn't. It's the Whiskey.
Yeah.
We went out in 2013 for the Death Angel. A Dream Calls for Blood release,
Mhm.
and it was like Death Angel, Battle Cross, 3 Inches of Blood, Revocation.
That was back in the day then.
Oh yeah, dude, and that whole bill was just stacked. What a killer show.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I've seen Death Angel out here, at the Roxy, actually, one of their Christmas shows. They're great. Well, I mean, well,
Yeah.
they're amazing live, so good.
Oh yeah. And Mark, honestly, man, Mark sounds so good on that Kerry King stuff. Like I'm like I can get into it, but I'm a big Death Angel fan, so I really have enjoyed Mark's performing for I don't know, well over 30 years at this point.
Yeah, I have, some history with Mark because God Forbidden Death Angel did a co-headline tour back in 2008, and we shared a tour bus and got along amazingly well. And he's also in the wedding band I play with Kirk and Rob from Metallica, and so we did some gigs, and he's the best. I love Mark.
Yeah, me too. I sent him a message after a show and I was like, "Hey dude, I just want to say, right, been a fan for a long time. It was a great show. It was them in Exodus just I don't know, a couple years ago." And he was like, "Oh, funny enough, I just got on, blah blah blah, thanks, appreciate you." And I was like, "Oh, I feel like a little nerd because, that was one of the bands when I was 11 or 12, stay up to watch Headbangers Ball because I really wanted to see like some Death Angel videos and whatever else. So that was good stuff.
Yeah,
Uh, so obviously, right, Bad Wolves has a lot going on. Do you or God forbid, have plans to write anything new right now, or is that, you like you were saying, you just want to keep that as like a fun little thing once in a while, keep the
we're
magic.
talking about it. It's like making it a reality is definitely going to be some. Gonna have to put some time in and some effort and kind of see what happens. It'd be really fun. It's also very intimidating. When you haven't written with a band in a long time, where there's like expectations if you're going to make music that it's very good. There's kind of a high bar to clear. So I think I'm definitely going to be working on some stuff and kind of see what comes out. And if it's good, hopefully it'll see the light of day. But I don't want to like promise too much because we're very, very early in the stages with that.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see to see some new God forbid come out. On the same token, right? Like everyone has their own thing going on right now. So, you know, in in due time, if it makes the light, I'll be fucking super excited.
Yeah, we shall see. We shall see. But I need to clear out my own time to like actually put put some music down and share it with the guys and see what they're vibing with.
Yeah, for sure. It's all schedules and timing and how does it feel. So what over the next 12 months with Bad Wolves, what do you hope or what are you most anticipating for
Well,
the band as a whole?
the main idea is to develop a kind of full schedule of touring and really try and hit it as hard as we can. Because I just think we're everything with the band feels fresh and new. We have a new record, we have a new guitar player, um, we have we're playing new songs. It's just like, and I want to just spread that around and kind of share that with people, and so basically that's the main thing. And then we just released a new song called Knife, a couple weeks back, and then yesterday we just did a song with Nick Nocturnal, like for Octane Radio. And I kind of like the idea of doing that, of like just kind of like putting out little things. So even though we have a record out, constantly have other things coming out to keep people interested. So it's not just like, oh, here's this record we did last year. It's like, you always just giving people things to be interested in. And so that's the idea, is just work this record, uh, keep the momentum going and building, and try and really get the band out to different audiences. I think right now a lot of the scene that is really taking off the most right now is the metalcore scene,
Hmm.
and I think we have a lot in common with those bands musically.
Yeah.
Even though I think that the perception is that we're some kind of like radio butt rock band, I think we're a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And so just playing with those bands and just you constantly have to, no matter what you're doing, you constantly have to be, because the audience is always shifting, right? There's always new people, new things going on, and you can't just stay in your lane. You got to go, all right, well, there's this whole group of people that if they heard what we were doing would probably be into it. So we got to go show it to them. And that process never ends. It's like that's why you would see a band like Slayer, anytime they would be on tour, they would always be newer bands because they wanted to bring those new people to go, hey, check out Slayer, and you're always trying to stay current and stay of the moment. That's why it's like, you know, even Metallica, they've got Ice Nine Kills out, they've got Architects out, they've got, Wolfgang Van Halen. They're not just bringing old band, even though there are some older bands on their tours. That's not, it's all you constantly throughout your career have to be part of what's happening now, not just living in the past.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I never thought of it like that. I always thought of it as, when the older bands are taking out the younger bands, it was just a way to uh, progress the, I'll call it a scene, community, whatever, as a whole, right? Like they bring the new band out because that band has to take the torch.
Yeah, it's all about sharing. Like you want them to bring their audience in, and then it's mutually beneficial, right? Because the younger band gets to be exposed to the older band and the bigger band's audience, and then the older band gets new blood in kind of fed into what they're doing, and it keeps that's the cycle, and it's supposed to work that way, and it's great that it does. And it's every now and again, like it's funny, I'm going to see Machine Head in a couple days. I kind of gave Rob Flynn shit, that because they were doing these like evening with tours where it's
Yeah.
just Machine Head. I'm like, dude, man, you gotta, like, you cutting off the scene, like, it's like we need, like, younger bands need that. They need that exposure. And when you kind of do that, I think it work. I think, like, I have no problem if a band does that for like a certain amount of time, but I think ultimately it's about the connectivity and creating a culture. Like it can't, it's like I feel like there's a few bands that are in their own world. If or, it's like the Grateful Dead, right? Like that's what it's about. I'm going to see the Dead, man. Like, and
Yeah.
nothing else really matters. Um, but this culture is about sharing and putting the ladder down for the next band and helping them out, and then they do that for the next band, and that's how it continues. And I think that's really, really important, because especially if you're in the position to do that, where you have an audience and you can help other bands, and otherwise you choke off, you don't allow the next headliners to exist, and because we all need help. We all need that exposure at some point when we're starting out. Not everyone can go viral on TikTok, you know.
Right. Yeah, no shit. Well, and that support, that feeling of community, I think, it helps keep those younger bands go, okay, listen, someone really does want to listen to us, and it helps them get to that next level. Cause I'm sure you remember, right? You go out and when the band's first starting, you're playing a lot of shows where it's like, okay, the bartender's here and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, it's those bands, they are the future. Like, God forbid we took out Avenged Sevenfold on one of their first tours, and they're still friends with those guys to this day. We took Trivium out on one of their first tours, and still friends to this day. And you don't, maybe sometimes it at the time, but a lot of times you don't. But it's like, and what I'm saying is those bands still appreciate that to this day. The
Yeah.
fact that you gave them an opportunity at a time when maybe they didn't have that many opportunities. Um, and and I love that. I love having, because it's funny, like a lot of bands, they'll like almost be jealous of a band that they over a friend that gets bigger than them. Um, where me, I'm just like, I'm just happy I had a role in that success at all. Um, because at a certain point the talent is, uh you can't deny it. And so you go, that band was going to be big no matter what. The fact that we did our tour, that's just that's a small part of that history, but I'm happy to like usher that along and be anything there, and I want to support new artists and have them grow and be successful.
Well, and then I'm sure, after going on tour, you become friends, and to see your friends, hit that level of success, you're like, oh man, like hell yeah, good for you. You guys deserved it. Keep working, keep rocking.
Yeah, and I'm
Uh,
a fan too, like I'm a fan of the like, so it's like I'm friends with them, but also like I like I'm listening to the records just like anyone else is listening to the music. If it's fucking great, then I'm gonna probably be
yeah.
checking it out.
Yeah, I feel like with Trivium, they got Alex Bent, and he helped take him to that next level, man, because he is such a tremendous drummer.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've had some great drummers, but he's definitely special.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw him a few times with Battlecross back in the day, and it was like you could tell, like, holy shit, dude, you are just damn good. So, uh, just seeing him, I mean, he went from Battlecross, he did Testament. I did like a Japan tour with Testament because Gene couldn't make it, and then joined Trivium, and it's like right on. You're a great drummer, and to get out there and get the success is like I want to see everyone succeed, right? If you're making music, if you're making good music, right? Keep doing it, plugging away. Let's see what we can get you. That's why I started doing this because hell, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that don't know Bad Wolves, right? Or Battlecross or whatever. Like shit. Let's talk. Let's get people talking about the band some more. Let's further the scene, you know?
Absolutely.
Um, okay. I was gonna ask you one more question and I don't remember what it was. Because I'm getting old and senile. So Doc, I'm gonna say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you, taking time out of your day to come and hang out. Um, for you guys out there, go listen to Bad Wolves, go listen to God Forbid, go check out his podcast, the X-Man podcast. He's got some really kick-ass guests on there, and there are some fucking awesome stories. So,
I appreciate you, and thank you for having me on here, and and I'm happy to help, especially up and coming, just like with the band stuff, the podcast thing. Like I always try and um grant interviews to other shows that are developing and building, and because I've been in that same position. So just keep doing what you're doing, keep rocking, and hopefully I'll see you. You said you're in Michigan, right?
no, I'm from Michigan, but I live in Kentucky now.
Kentucky, Kentucky. All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you out on the road fairly soon. All right. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, you too, brother. Have a great day. See ya.